Well, the Bond movie continues at 10:25, with TV's naughtiest blunders at 11:25. All that to come after the news.
Tony Martin free and speaking out for the first time. The bungled Scotland Yard sting that cost the taxpayer millions. Did Saddam escape from here just before the soldiers arrived? Thanks for the memories. The world pays tribute to Bob Hope.
I thank you so much.
The ITV News at 10 with John Suchet.
Good evening. For 4 years, Tony Martin has been surrounded by controversy. Today, the day of his release, he's caught up in a new one. He sold his story to a national newspaper and attacked the British legal system. He said the only justice he got was rough justice. A new photo of the Norfolk farmer, jailed for murdering a burglar, fills the front page of tomorrow's Daily Mirror. But Tony Martin is still in hiding tonight. Andrea Cathwood is at his deserted farmhouse. Andrea.
Well, Tony Martin may be a free man, but he hasn't come back to the home that he killed and went to jail trying to defend. Instead, the appropriately named bleak house is overgrown and derelict tonight, and Martin is in a secret location paid for by the Daily Mirror newspaper, who have bought up him and his story. Laying out tomorrow's front page at the Mirror, Tony Martin told the paper, "I am not bitter, I am angry. I didn't get justice, I got rough justice." The Press Complaints Commission is looking into the Mirror's payment of a convicted criminal. The paper's editor defends the decision.
You must present a public interest defence if you're going to pay a criminal. I don't think there's ever been a case in modern times which has such overriding public interest issues as Tony Martin's case, the right to defend yourself in your home.
His conviction hit a nerve throughout Britain. He'd been burgled up to 30 times. But when he took the law into his own hands, he felt its full force. The law protected burglars in the act of breaking it. At his farm, flowers and a yellow ribbon give a taste of local support.
Even defending his own property. And I think everybody in the country should be allowed to do it.
I don't think he should have went to prison for it, because they shouldn't have been there. Who's wrong with being there? If you can't protect your property, what can you protect?
If Fred Barras wasn't in his house, then he wouldn't be dead today.
The family of Fred Barras, 16 when he was shot dead by Martin, ask that his killer shows remorse.
He should say that, all right, I'm sorry, I know he shouldn't have been there, I was in my rights, but I am sorry, I didn't mean to kill him. But he's never, ever come across with that statement or any as such as that statement.
Tony Martin once felt abandoned by police. Now they are installed at his farm to provide protection for his return. Amid reports, there's now a bounty on his head. Well, friends say that he will come back to this farm and spearhead a crusade to change the law in favour of householders' rights. He may not have appeared yet, but I think that once this crusade gets going, we're going to see and hear quite a lot from Tony Martin in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Andrea. So is Tony Martin a hero or a villain? An ITV News phone vote carried out today suggests that most people are on his side. We asked, was it right to jail Tony Martin? Of more than 21,000 votes, 35% said yes it was, but the majority, 65%, said it was wrong. Mark Webster reports now on the debate that has divided Britain.
It was a night in August 1999 when Tony Martin opened fire with an illegally held pump-action shotgun he kept under his bed. Although he shot one of the intruders in the back, he said he was justified in protecting his property after a spate of thefts. A jury at Lincoln Crown Court decided otherwise.
If somebody feels that they are in imminent danger, or they're their family and they're in home of violence, and they lash out and take violent self-defense, the law will support them in that. What the law will not support is shooting people in the back or laying special traps to kill people.
Let's just try and say, look, if you've entered somebody else's property for a specifically unlawful purpose, not just to ask the way or something, then from that moment, you have forfeited your right to equal consideration.
Tony Martin, is he a villain? Is he a hero? Kings Lynn 690.
Rarely has a case so polarised public opinion as this phone-in today on Tony Martin's local radio station showed.
He has no remorse whatsoever if you listen. He doesn't. He would do it again tomorrow if you listen to him.
You think someone should be knighted for shooting a burglar?
He's not only defending himself, but Tony Martin is defending every other decent citizen in the country.
Tony Martin's actions have certainly highlighted the debate about the sanctity of property and that of human life. Mark Webster, ITV News.
An elaborate police sting that was supposed to bring drug smugglers to book has collapsed. In criticism, in 10 suspects walking free, and in a bill for the taxpayers running into millions. The police operation was supposed to catch drug dealers who laundered money in Gibraltar. The judge called the police scheme state-created crime that was massively illegal. Here's John Draper.
The police operation against the drugs gangs, which went so spectacularly wrong, was initially quite simple. Officers set up a phony company offering to launder the drugs profits. By luring the gangs in, the police got the evidence to convict 21 dealers and seize drugs. But it all collapsed today at Southwark Crown Court when a judge ruled that the money laundering operation mounted by detectives was itself a state-sponsored crime. 10 men walked free and Scotland Yard was accused of breaking the law to enforce the law. A top officer told me the judge had got it wrong.
It wasn't state-sponsored crime, as it's been put. This was a lawful operation. It was deemed to be necessary and proportionate to the threat. Don't forget, this was about major drug trafficking that impacts on this country, this capital, in a major way. And it was necessary to infiltrate these criminal gangs.
But Judge George Bathurst Norman criticised the operation, under which underworld figures turned up with suitcases full of cash, which was laundered often through Gibraltar, care of the Metropolitan Police. £15 million of drugs money will never be traced again. This whole business has been a huge setback for the police. A major operation compromised, future undercover work in doubt, and probably the most damning criticism of the police ever made by a British judge. John Draper, ITV News, Scotland Yard.
The boss of the TUC will tomorrow try to help end the dispute at British Airways over its electronic clocking on system by holding talks with the unions involved. BA's chief executive, Rod Eddington, said that his talks with union leaders today had been constructive. He said he had underestimated opposition to the new swipe card system, which led to a walkout by check-in staff. The inquiry into the death of Dr. David Kelly will get underway later this week. The preliminary hearing into the death of the scientist at the centre of the Iraq dossier row will be held this Friday. American troops in Iraq have carried out a series of raids after receiving new tip-offs about Saddam Hussein's whereabouts. He's still at large, but senior officers say the tip-offs are now coming thick and fast, and they're convinced they're on his track. Juliette Bremner obtained exclusive access to the house, which was the scene of the latest raid.
A trail of destruction left in the wake of the special task force that's hunting down Saddam Hussein. Soldiers acting on a tip-off turned the house upside down. It's the home of Prince Rabea, a tribal leader the Americans thought might be hiding the former dictator.
I had no relations with Saddam Hussein whatsoever, not close relations. Saddam Hussein never trusted anybody.
Did he ever come to your house before?
Never in his life.
The Americans are not about to apologise for all of this. They believe they're on the verge of finding Saddam Hussein, that he has few friends left and even fewer places to hide.
With no sign of Saddam, the search teams move quickly on to new addresses in his hometown of Tikrit. Suspects are held. It's hoped they could provide more information about Saddam's inner circle. With a reward of $25 million, American troops are increasingly confident that they will soon have the ace in their pack.
We have seen an increase in the number of tips that have been brought to us by the Iraqi people. They seem to be coming forward with more and better information now.
3 civilians were shot during last night's raid, innocent victims of this frantic search.
Juliette Bremner, ITV News, Baghdad.
for a woman who guards the privacy of her children and her friends, Cherie Blair has, perhaps unexpectedly, allowed a behind-the-scenes look at her life in Number 10. A photo shoot for a glossy magazine has her perched on the Downing Street duvet, surrounded by toddler Leo's toys and being made up by her friend Carol Kaplan. So why did she do it? John Ray reports.
The singing fell flat. The flowers caught her off guard. Cherie Blair has had more than a few bad hair days in the press. Time for a revamp. The magazine Marie Claire invited inside Downing Street to see the real Cherie being made up by her close friend and style guru Carol Kaplan, whose boyfriend, the conman Peter Foster, caused so much trouble last year.
She obviously, Cherie Blair that is, obviously feels that they're good friends and she has nothing to hide. But to a certain extent it sort of drags up all the sort of stuff that we've sort of been and done with the flats issues earlier on in the year.
The idea was to portray the PM's wife in a positive light, but do the pictures tell us more? Most people might tidy up before a photographer comes round, but Leo's scattered toys tell us this is a normal family. Yet they do appreciate the good life. On the table, expensive Krug champagne. Upstairs we see the couple's bedroom. The mug at her feet has the slogan, "Women half the population, all the brains."
There's something quite surreal about actually seeing a picture of the Prime Minister's bed. And it was interesting, she was joking about how they have the usual couples argument of whether to have the lights on or off, because she likes to stay up reading a few chapters of her legal novels while he's trying to get some much-needed sleep.
Later, Mrs. Blair was showing off the silverware to visitors. Critics will say it's her image makers who need a bit more polish. John Ray, ITV News.
There's more to come on News at 10 tonight, including under pressure, England's cricket captain draws stumps, and America's tribute to the comic legend, Bob Hope.
General, will you call off this war while we're on, please?
That and more when we come back.
I was headhunted again last week.
Well, I've definitely been earmarked for the board.
In fact, I've quadrupled my turnover inside 5 years.
Can I give anyone a lift?
So, what did you say you did?
I didn't.
So during the robbery, you were at home with a headache that lasted all evening?
That's right.
I wonder if you could explain something to me then.
Try me.
We found these in your flat.
Headache? What headache?
7 ways to rob a bank. 1. Mingle. 2. Smile. 3. Be bold. 4. Focus. 5. Make eye contact. 6. Maintain eye contact. 7. Number 7 Lash Extensions Mascara dramatically lengthens for 7 times the impact.
Get down to M&D, Scotland's biggest family day out, and you can blast off on any one of 4 massive roller coasters, only in M&D, Scotland's theme park, Motherwell.
At Marks & Spencer this summer, we've loads of delicious, ready-to-eat salads. All sorts of ready-to-cook treats for the barbecue. And heaps of the sweetest of summer fruit. So when the sun comes out, make the most of it. Marks & Spencer, extraordinary food every day.
Steam, not boil, no? Just put it under the grill. That sounds nice and easy.
One more thing, can you send me some information about the kinds of spreads that I should be using?
What, 5 portions of fruit and veg a day?
Whatever your question is to the Healthy Living line, our advisors will chat to you about eating that little bit better. So call 08452 78 88 78.
Welcome back. Nasser Hussain resigned today from the most difficult job in British sport, captaining the England cricket team. It was the end of a fairy tale for the man born in India who went on to captain the team of his adopted country. Nick Bashford reports.
Nasser Hussain leaving the field at Edgbaston today for the last time as England captain. He wants to be remembered as someone who cared passionately about the job.
Just someone whose players played for him, and someone who just didn't carry on doing it just because there was a few quid involved. Did it as long as he thought he was doing his country and his side some good, and when he felt he wasn't doing it any good anymore, stood back and let someone else take over.
Hussain has been England's most successful captain of recent times. Success that was recognised last year when he was awarded an OBE in the Queen's New Year's Honours List. But there is more to the job of England captain than just cricket. In the World Cup in South Africa, not only did Hussain have to shoulder the weight of captaincy, but high political controversy over whether England should play in trouble-torn Zimbabwe. And while Hussain has struggled for form recently, his heir apparent Michael Vaughan has gone from strength to strength. But his decision still shocked many.
Well, it's come as a great surprise, to be perfectly honest, but and it will have taken a lot of courage for Nasser to give up something that he really has put his heart and soul into.
With the responsibility of captaincy gone, Hussain says he'll concentrate on cementing his place in the England side. Nick Bashford, ITV News.
And finally, he made both sides of the Atlantic laugh for 3/4 of a century. Today, at the age of 100, no less, the king of stand-up comedy, Bob Hope, died quietly in his sleep. He was a master of the one-liner on stage, radio, television and in films. Robert Moore reports now on the death of a legend.
We're off on the road to Morocco.
America has lost an icon, an entertainer who moved from theatre to radio and on to film and television. The man who mastered the one-liner.
You're clean.
Yeah, you better try it again, huh?
Thanks from America to all our men in blue.
Generations of Americans will remember Bob Hope as the comic who tirelessly entertained the troops through the Second World War and on to Korea and Vietnam.
I just want you boys to see what you're fighting for, that's all. President Kennedy seems very happy tonight. He likes these intimate little affairs.
Bob Hope became the most honored name in American entertainment and the friend of successive presidents.
You look just great.
Bob, you look great too.
Well, I hope I look that good when I'm your age.
And today, the tributes to Bob Hope were led by President Bush.
Today, America lost a great citizen. We mourn the passing of Bob Hope. Bob Hope made us laugh, and he lifted our spirits.
Bob Hope was born in Britain, and today he is being remembered on both sides of the Atlantic.
Well, you were with a giant. He was the greatest stand-up comedian of them all. And of course, one of the most famous comedians ever, along with Charlie Chaplin.
So thanks for the memory.
His was a truly spectacular career, spanning so much of the 20th century, and in the process he won the hearts of the American people.
As far as I'm concerned, this picture's over right now.
And I thank you so much.
The life and laughter of Bob Hope. I'll be back in a few minutes with a reminder of the main headlines. First, though, we join ITV newsrooms around the country to find out what's been happening where you are tonight.
Hello and good evening. A month after the brutal killing of Jodie Jones, independent detectives are being brought in to review the case. A murder weapon has not been found and no arrests have been made in the last 4 weeks. Well, today, a fresh appeal for help from the public was issued by Lothian and Borders Police. So our reporter Roddy Scott reports for the residents of East Houses in Edinburgh. The wait for answers is hard to take.
This weekend, Jodie's mum left fresh flowers at the entrance to the path where her daughter was murdered. Today, almost a month since she was killed, a new team of investigators began a review of the evidence in the hope that something will spark a fresh lead.
The review team will consider and examine all aspects of the inquiry to date, all the lines of inquiry undertaken, all the pieces of information that have been fed into the investigation to date, and from that they will suggest a number of potential new lines of inquiry.
Officers have taken thousands of statements and made numerous appeals for information, but have so far made no arrests. A reconstruction of Jodie's last movements and an appeal by two of her aunts did yield one important breakthrough. Police are still desperate to trace a man seen walking behind the teenager on the night she was killed. They believe he could be a crucial witness. There is still in the East Houses community a palpable sense of fear that a killer is on the loose.
It's just a total different place. It's just, you don't feel so comfortable. I mean, I've got my dog, but I think a lot of people are very uneasy to go out and about, really.
Very upset and frightened, very frightened.
Still very frightened?
I think so, yes.
Every community gets a dreadful fright when it happens to them. But if parents and youngsters can take basic safety precautions, they can still go out and about, but they must take care to keep themselves safe.
The tributes on some of these cards are beginning to fade, and with time and no major new developments, so too will the media's interest in this story. And that's a problem for the police, because if public interest diminishes, so do their chances of catching her killer.
Roddy Scott there. Customers of a Glasgow pub could have vital information about the murder of a teenager in the Pollokshaws area of the city. 17-year-old Thomas Lockery was stabbed to death in the early hours of Sunday morning, just a short distance from a local police station. Our reporter Mike Edwards has this.
Tributes ranging from flowers to football jerseys were being laid where 17-year-old Thomas Lockery was stabbed in the early hours of Sunday morning. He was found seriously injured here at the junction of Shawbridge Street and Netheraldhouse Road in Pollokshaws. The 6 feet 3 inches tall teenager, known by so many as a gentle giant, was taken to the Victoria Infirmary but died from his injuries.
He just was a guy that always had a grin, mild, wide grin, and just wouldn't walk by you without saying hello.
He was a nice big lad, he really was. He never passed me in the street, he always said, you know, hello Mrs Chambers, and very well mannered. A really nice lad.
One of the last people to see him alive was the manager of this pub. Detectives now want to hear from anyone who was drinking here on Saturday night.
Well, basically, young Thomas came along the streets and stopped and asked me if I had any tupping time. Apparently he was mucking about with some paint and so on. And I said, no, I don't have any. Sorry, Thomas. He said, I'll try the garage. And he walked along to the garage. He then passed by about 10 minutes later, walking towards the phone box. And at that time, I was letting people out the function room. So there was a number of people in the street at the time. And that was the last I saw of him when he walked up the street.
Thomas and his family left this area of Glasgow and moved to Cardonald, but he had so many friends here, Thomas would return to see them every weekend. It's tragic that he lost his life on such a visit. Doubly tragic that he died within yards of a police station.
A social work expert is scrutinising an action plan prepared by Borders Council following the case of a woman with learning difficulties known as Miss X, who was sexually abused by 3 men, including her carer. The woman's attackers were jailed for a total of 24 years for raping and torturing her. Well, moves are now underway to ensure that vulnerable people in the area aren't being put at risk because of failings in the social work department.
This isn't going to be turned round overnight. I think what we have here is a real and genuine commitment by the council and the managers to say we want to learn lessons, we know there are lessons to be learned, and we want to work with the community to take this forward. So I'm very positive about that.
The Transport Minister is pledging a better deal for ScotRail passengers with tough new targets and strict monitoring during the period of the next franchise. The tender document published today demands more reliable trains and less overcrowding, with no one standing for more than 10 minutes. 4 rival firms will battle for control of ScotRail.
It's crucial the way that the bid is tendered. We've taken the advice of the Strategic Rail Authority and we're looking for changes from the current franchise that will improve quality, improve frequency and allow for the expansion of services. We've got the most ambitious investment programme in Scotland's rail services for decades and we want to deliver that in a high quality way over the next 7 years.
And finally tonight, the Isle of Bute is being hotly tipped as the place for Scotland's latest celebrity marriage. Rumour has it that the cream of pop royalty will be heading to Rothesay for the wedding of the year. Well, it could be as much as a case of doon the water as doon the aisle for Sir Paul McCartney's daughter, Stella. It's thought that the clothes designer has chosen Mount Stuart House as the venue for her impending nuptials instead of the Mull of Kintyre, which of course was made famous by her father. And that's all from the Scottish Newsroom. Now it's time to hand you back to John Suchet with the ITV news headlines. From me, good night.
Hello again. Tonight's headlines. Tony Martin, the farmer who was jailed for killing a burglar, has been released. He's told the Daily Mirror he's angry and believes he got rough justice. A police sting set up to catch drug smugglers has been criticised for costing British taxpayers millions of pounds. And tributes have been pouring in for the comic legend Bob Hope, who died today. He was 100. And that's the news. Over on the ITV News channel now, another chance to see the Tonight programme special about instant justice. But from me and the News at 10 team, good night.
ITV National Weather, sponsored by PowerGen. PowerGen. Power in good hands.
Hello, good evening. Our Met Office chart here shows masses of cloud furrowed streaming in from the Atlantic, bringing even more changeable weather, meaning even more rain to come. So tonight, most of that rain is now confined to the north of Scotland, the extreme southeast of England as well, misty on the hilltops, breezy with it as well. And then during the early hours, the next batch of rains there, ready and waiting down in the southwest. Into our Tuesday morning, dry, bright weather in the east, some central parts as well. Rain from the word go out to the west there. And then during the course of the day, that extends across virtually the whole of the country, going ever northeastwards, with a glimmer of so brighter weather tucking in behind there. Remaining breezy, temperatures remain disappointing. We are, however, holding out more hope for a better, more promising day on Wednesday, a less breezy one too.
PowerGen. Power in good hands.
Running out for Real Madrid with these sort of players is going to be an amazing experience.
David Beckham's debut. Every game, exclusively on ITV2. Beckham Live, beginning Saturday, 12:30.